It's not like a timeshare.
No.
Okay.
There's no trick. They know exactly what they're going to get into.
You're going to have a 100% fail rate if you don't do that.
Right.
You can't just say, hey, come on over. We have this new wine. And they come over and, your husband's penis flops out.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 sex ed, what's happening in your bed? We've got answers just ahead. Yeah, it's time for Sex Ed, the musical.
Hello, and welcome to Sex Ed the Musical. I'm your host, Wendy Miller. When I was head of programming at Playboy TV, I always knew I was going to get fired. I just wasn't sure for what. Which is interesting because I don't have a history of being fired from jobs. In fact, just about everywhere I've worked, I could go back. I never engage in drama. But for some reason, I had this vision of being dragged out of the Playboy TV offices by security with a bunch of naked people crying and me throwing a chair through a glass window, which probably wouldn't go through, it would just bounce back and hit me in the head. I had this great, gigantic scandal imagined. Of course, when they did let me go, it really was nothing to do with anything except bad decision-making. On their part, not mine. But part of the best part of my job was hanging out with people who had lots of scandalous stories. Sex workers, strippers, and then a lot of adventurous couples, really civilians who like to have sex on our shows. And I was so inspired by them because they were so brave. And I shouldn't even use the term scandalous stories because really, there's nothing scandalous about these folks. They're just doing their thing, consensually, having lots of fun sex all over the place, and giving zero fucks about it. And really, if there's anything you could take away from this show, it should be, you should live just like them. We should all be living just like them. All they're interested in is pleasure and fun. And again, fully consensual, adults, everybody in agreement, nothing creepy going on. One of the women that was on a bunch of my shows is someone I've called the Sexually Adventurous Woman. This woman is incredibly sexy. But if you met her in her professional life, you'd see her at a very conservative job with her hair pulled back in a very conservative state in this country. Since I've left Playboy TV, I've actually befriended a bunch of the people that were on my shows, and I spent a couple of hours talking to the Sexually Adventurous Woman, really kind of getting to know what her steps were leading her into this lifestyle. So I broke our conversation up into 3 different segments. And the first one is about how she even found out she was a sexually adventurous woman. Because, spoiler alert, she didn't start out as one. She started out married, vanilla, and boring. Just like the rest of us.
Sit back, relax. Here's our special guest.
I grew up very sheltered. Sex was not a topic that was talked about in my house. My mother nor my dad even brought it up. So we don't talk about that kind of thing. So I didn't have a really good education about it. I learned some things from my friends, but I would say I went into it pretty blind.
So how did you start to evolve as a person?
I met my husband, and he was a little more advanced than me. And so he taught me a lot of things that I probably should have known already. Like, I'd never had phone sex before. I'd actually never even touched myself before.
Really?
Yes. So we had a little long-distance relationship while I was in college. And he tried to have phone sex with me, and I giggled most of the time. And he's like, okay, well, touch yourself. And I said, okay. And I was like, there are all these bumpies in there. And he just started laughing. And he's like, okay, yeah, we can't have phone sex. So I now, like, I still didn't pleasure myself, but I knew that it was okay that I did that. And it was something that he actually wanted me to do. And it was okay that I did it. Like, I should have been doing this all the time.
Right.
According to him.
Were you married at the time?
We were not married at the time.
So you get married, and what changes start to happen? Already he's obviously opened you up literally to some things. What starts to happen? So
we start experimenting with different things, and he really understands the amount of sexual knowledge that I'm lacking. He exposes me to a lot of different things, mostly HBO. I learned a lot from Dr. Ruth. And so Dr. Ruth was really good about explaining things, and she was non-threatening, like this little old lady, and she's very specific on her explanations of things. And so I learned how to give a blowjob from this old lady on TV. And so, like, one that I remember the most is she called pineapple, and so she would say, interlock your fingers and you move in a circular motion up and down. And she would say that this is the pineapple, and she'd go up and down the shaft and all around the head. And I was like, hey, I could do that. And so then I tried, and so then everything that I watched, I just absorbed it and I learned. And of course he was only too willing to help and encourage that. And he would even say, what do you want to watch tonight? And I would look at him and say, okay, real sex on TV.
So what came after real sex?
So then, of course, all guys have their fantasies. Well, let's have a threesome. I want to have a threesome. And so he told me I should have a threesome too. And I was like, really? And he says, yeah. He says, aren't you into girls? And I'm like, I don't think I'm into girls. He said, all girls are into girls. They just don't know it yet. And I was like, well, how do you think that? And he's like, well, when we watch porn, what do you want to watch? And I said, 2 girls, 1 guy. And I was like, you might be right. So he kind of convinced me that I was bisexual.
But you were favoring female male porn.
Yes, because let's face it, girls are a lot nicer to look at.
Yes.
I look at the girls. I compliment their bodies. I compliment what they're wearing. It turns me on to see their bodies. The guys are great, but when I look, that's not what turns you on. It's the silhouettes of the girls and how sexual they are. And
do you know what the number one porn search for straight women is?
What?
Lesbian porn.
Really?
And a lot of it is created for the male gaze, right? You've got these women with these long nails and the giant fake boobies and
right, because if I could see a woman coming out with me with those really long nails,
that's right.
That's a no.
That's a no-go. So you wouldn't see too many. You wouldn't see even a high femme lesbian would not have long nails like that. So that's basically lesbian porn produced for the male gaze.
For the guys. Okay.
But there's a lot of lesbian porn produced for women, and I would think most of these women would not identify as bisexual or even bi-curious.
Right.
But they want to see the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's convinced you now that you are inherently bisexual.
Yes.
And so now you need to find a unicorn.
Now I need to find a unicorn.
So where do you guys go?
We try some bars, and I'm not very good at picking up ladies.
Is it your job? Are you the one?
I'm the one. It's got to be the one. He says that it's got to be the woman because it comes off as non-threatening.
You have game. You know how to pick up a guy. But you don't know how to pick up a girl.
I don't know how to pick up a girl. Or I didn't know how to pick up a girl.
Talk to me now. What's the difference between picking up a guy and picking up a girl?
There's not a whole lot to picking up a guy.
Right. No.
They just have to be there and look them in the eye, and you can pick up a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that eye contact is 90%.
Yes.
Of picking up a guy.
Anytime you look at a guy, he's probably thinking, it's on.
I have a chance.
Yeah. And that's so awful for women. Yeah.
But girls, it's much harder with a girl.
How do you pick up a girl?
It's really hard to pick up a girl because in a regular bar, you have to gauge, are they even open to the idea? Or are they being nice to me, or are they just not going to be nice to me at all? And a lot of girls are very combative because they have these walls up when they're at the bar,
So what do you wait? So this is going to be helpful for people. What are some telltale signs that she might be interested?
She smiles.
Okay.
I always smile at a girl, and if she smiles back, then I think she's approachable to me. If she gives me the resting bitch face, or if she gives me the turn or the eye roll, then she's just not going to be someone that you want to approach.
So unlike guys who can't read us, women can read each other very well.
I think so.
Okay.
I think women tend to understand. They look at body language. They look at the facial expressions, and then I always say hi, or I'll make a comment about something that they're wearing that I'm interested in, or I kind of listen to a conversation that they're having, and I may say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pry, but I totally agree with you on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And something. And so I find a way to interject myself. And then that's another sign that there might be a little more receptive to a conversation.
Okay. But just because someone is talking to you, you're friendly, you're non-threatening, you're awfully cute. Someone might be talking back to you. That doesn't mean she wants to have sex with you.
No, definitely not.
So how do you keep talking to find that out? What do you do?
When you're at a bar and you're talking, most people are at a bar to hook up.
Yeah.
Most people you can see, on a date, they're hooking, you could tell that they're on a date and the body language and stuff like that. So I tend to gravitate towards a more sexual conversation.
Like what?
Like, we see a couple that's dating and I would say, well, I don't think she's into him. What about you? And then she, would say something to me and then, you know what I mean? And then we kind of go a little bit more and a little bit more. And then it's like, have you ever done that?
Oh, okay.
Have you ever, have you been on a date and had something like that? So then we went a little bit more.
So this is, you're checking to see how sexually adventurous they are.
Exactly.
Where is your husband/partner in all of this?
He's on the stool next to me, drinking and listening.
Are you at what point do you turn and introduce him?
Before the sex talk, but after we've communicated for quite a bit.
Okay.
And so then I'll turn around and I'll say, hey, and I'll give the name. And I said, this is my husband. And he'll shake hands with them and smile at them. And then he goes back to drinking and sitting there and being very quiet.
Okay.
And then I would keep going and I'd go to the next level.
What's the next level?
And so after I've figured out her level and and girls want to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If they've done it before or if they're curious about it, they're going to come out.
Okay.
And they're going to say, oh yeah, I did that once when I was drunk in college, or always wanted to try that. I'm just, it's just, how do you meet people like that and stuff like that. And so, depending on where they go with that, I always try to be very respectful, and then if that's a level that we can go to, then I'll buy a drink, and then I'll say, well, you know what, you want to go sit over here and we can, talk about some more things, or you know what I mean. So then I pull them away from the bar.
Did you have more success in a non-lesbian bar?
Regular hetero bars are more successful.
Yeah.
In fact, the lesbian bars don't like women like me.
That's right.
They can pick me out like I am a red post sign in the middle of a white sea. They know exactly who the bisexual women are.
Yep.
And they really don't like us. I have a lesbian friend, so I went to a lesbian meet and greet, and just to support her, because she didn't want to go alone. And I asked them, I said, why? I said, why do you look down on women who want both? I said, what's wrong with wanting both? And the answer I got was, why can't you make up your mind?
Really?
Yes, that was one of the main answers I got. We don't want to be with people on the fence. Either you know or you don't know. Either you want to be with a guy or you want to be with a girl. I am so confused by that. Why do I have to pick?
I think straight women would have the same judgment. What are you queer or are you straight?
Right. Well, and both worlds live inside that box.
That's absolutely right.
The vanilla world, the straight world, lives inside their little straight box, and the lesbian world, they live inside their little lesbian box. And then you have people like me who don't want to live in either box.
There are exceptions in every group. There are exceptions. So what's interesting to me is that you're figuring out all of this stuff trying to pick up girls, yet you haven't even been with a girl yet.
No, I have not.
But you have to really jump into this swinging pool and try to figure out how to pick up women for your husband, who's sitting there next to you whispering in your ear, you're not straight, you're a lesbian, bisexual. Right?
Yes.
And so now you're in bars with him, learning how to pick up girls.
Learning how to pick up girls. Like I am 15, 16 years old, being taught how to pick up women from my best friend.
Wow. Okay, so your game is elevating, I'm sure, on the regular. You're very sexy. You're very pretty. I can't imagine that you really had that much trouble when you found someone who was even remotely close. A barsexual, as I like to say. Every woman is 2 drinks away from being a lesbian, so a barsexuals. So I'm sure at some point you closed someone.
Yes.
Tell me how that worked.
Well, if they're really interested, I'm really interested in them, I don't try to make the move at the bar.
Okay.
I get the phone number and I set it up for another day.
Really?
Yes, because I want a good experience, and I don't want to take someone drunk home and they have a bad experience.
This is the opposite of every single car dealer. It's like strike while they're right here, close, always be closing. You're sort of just getting a number.
I'm getting a number.
Okay. When you how many numbers did you get?
A lot.
And when you called them the next day or whatever, how many of those converted into being interested?
Not a lot, but it happened.
Okay.
And it happened a couple times.
So
and
someone
it happened
said
more times.
Okay, so someone said, yes,
Yes.
I'm interested. I'd like to hang out with you guys.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I say, okay, you're coming over on Friday and we're going to have a good time. And what do you want to drink? Let's do this, let's do that. And then I say, okay, why don't we wear this outfit? Or, and it's just the excitement. And you put on some lingerie and I'll put on some lingerie. And then when you come, we can change. And of course, my husband's got his game ready. He's got his game face on. He's got the music on. He's got the lights low. He's got the strawberries over here and he's got the drinks ready to go. And then when they come to the house, or if we went to a hotel, they kind of knew what they were getting into, and of course they're excited to try something new too. And then my thing is I'm as welcoming and as comfortable as possible. And of course my husband plays his role where he's very quiet and very non-aggressive.
Right.
And so then me and the girls, we sit down and we just talk and we just have this great conversation and we're drinking, and then the conversation becomes sexier, and then we start talking about what do you like and what have you done before and what's your favorite thing to do, and they're comfortable and I'm comfortable, and then usually I will talk to the girl and say, is it okay if he comes? Or they will grab him.
Right.
Whatever their comfort or their level is, and he steps in, and then we have a nice three-way. And
what are you thinking this whole time?
A little nervous, a little scared.
Have you ever seduced a woman before?
I have never seduced a woman before.
Does it seem tricky?
No, not really.
Really? Because seducing a guy, again, it's just
it's a lot easier. But I personally know what I think I would want, or what would make me comfortable. And so I try to do all of those things.
Okay, smart.
If I came to someone's house, which would be crazy, what kind of environment would this be? Is this a warm, is it a warm, welcoming house? Are they catering to me? Are they offering me something? I usually give a tour of my house when they come, things that don't have anything to do with sex, because they've put themselves in this situation, and that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So if they come to my house and they know where the bathroom is and they know where this is, then there's a little bit of a wall that comes down, and they're a little loose, and that makes me a little loose because they're a little loose.
Plus, these are verified leads, right? Before you even got the phone number, you basically said, we're here looking for...
Yes, there's no trick.
It's not like a timeshare.
No.
Okay.
There's no trick. They know exactly what they're going to get into.
You're going to have a 100% fail rate if you don't do that.
Right.
You can't just say, hey, come on over. We have this new wine. And they come over and, your husband's penis flops out.
Yeah. And girls, I wouldn't want to be tricked like that.
Nope, I wouldn't.
My defense would go straight up, and I would be, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I would clam up.
It's rape. It's rapey at that point.
Yeah, it's bad. And especially with 1-on-2, yep. I mean, that's not a good situation for anybody. Okay. Plus, it's got to be, if this works out great, this may happen again.
Right.
And I won't have to work so hard the next time.
You're going to get a Rolodex.
This would be great. She'll already know where the bathroom is and right. where the drinks are. And so if she's not busy in 3 or 4 Fridays down the road and she, calls or texts and say, what are y'all doing? I'm like, nothing. Come on over.
Okay, so she comes over, have some cocktails. You've got some nice music on. The house smells lovely.
Yes.
Maybe you have some candles burning.
I do.
What do you serve do you serve dinner?
No.
So this is after dinner.
I don't do dinner. This is usually at a later time in the day.
Smart.
So that you're not with a full stomach.
Right.
And the breath, I'll have, some fruit.
Fruit is a good sex snack.
Fruit is a good sex snack.
Okay, so she comes over. Mm-hmm. Now it's basically you want to get in the bedroom.
Right, which is usually not the bedroom.
What do you mean?
Bedroom scares people.
Okay.
Usually it's the couch or the ottoman in the living room.
Okay.
So the bedroom is pretty scary. It would be scary for me. Now, if she says, "Hey, let's go to the bedroom," well, then I know her levels, and we can go to the bedroom. But normally, it's something, and I'll keep blankets. I'll keep a big comforter, and sheets and stuff laying over the couch. And so when it goes down, I'll throw something on the floor, or something soft on the floor, or over the ottoman, or over the couch. But that way, she's never confined in a room or
Right. All right. She's there. She's good. You've got the fruit out. You're playing the right music. You have a comforter. Do you have lube and condoms stashed under the sofa?
No, they're in my husband's pocket.
Okay. So he has to keep his pants on.
His job is to keep his pants on.
Uh-huh.
And if we need something, supply it.
Okay. Do you start fooling around with the girl first?
I do. So I start touching.
Are you more dominant or submissive with women?
I am more dominant.
Okay.
And I think that's probably why I'm a little more successful.
Yeah.
Because women are a little scared to be dominant with women. I don't see women and men. I see me and somebody I'm interested in.
Okay.
So I do the same with my men that I do with my women.
Okay. Because I know some women are dominant with women and submissive with men.
And I'm not. I am dominant with both.
Okay.
And I usually keep it very lighthearted. And so I'll touch and I'll say something funny, or I'll say, "Hey, you got a tattoo, or you've got a dimple there," and I'll show my dimple.
Sure.
And just something, a little connection, and then there's the kiss, the icebreaker.
So you lean in for a kiss.
I'll lean in for a kiss.
And your husband the entire time
is watching.
And shutting the fuck up.
And shutting up. For a male to be quiet and watch is probably the hardest thing that they have to do. But it's the most necessary thing for me and for us to have a good night.
Got it.
So I can tell you there are people who have different dynamics set up, where the girl is not like me and not aggressive, and they find women who like the husbands to be the aggressor.
Right.
Everybody has their own dynamic.
Totally.
And this was the dynamic that worked for us, and this was the dynamic that made me comfortable.
So you've got this woman. Your husband is being quiet. You're laying the mac on her.
Yes.
You're kissing her. You're fondling her. The clothes stay on.
Nope, the clothes start coming off.
Clothes start coming off. You're on the sofa.
We're on the sofa. The clothes start
I
coming
hope it's
off.
a- I
I'm
hope it's a-
complimenting her, how beautiful she is, telling her my favorite parts of her, and and then we start. Usually after that comes the titty rubbing. My tits are really squishy, like they're like Jello, and so then I'll say, "Well, feel mine. They're so squishy. Look, you can squish them down like this," and so then that starts happening, and
Wow.
and so. It's a whole step process.
This is fascinating.
I kind of see where she wants to invite him in. In this instant, she really liked my husband, and she kind of waved him to come over. And he looks at me, and I shake my head yes.
Okay. Consent is important.
Right. And so then he comes in. He's got fully clothed still.
Okay.
And so we'll both take his clothes off, and then that's kind of the start of it. That's kind of...
Okay, so you're having your first threesome. This is the first time you're seeing your husband with another woman. How does this affect you? Because I know a lot of women who are curious. This is also very popular. A lot of women and men are curious about having a threesome. But until you are in that moment, you do not know how you're going to react to seeing your partner with another person.
You don't. And there's thoughts of jealousy. There's thoughts of, do I really want to see this? What if she likes it too much? What if he likes her too much?
These are all potential scenarios. What is your scenario?
And I'm welcoming this. Like, I'm inviting all of these different scenarios into my marriage, into my house, into my love life. And it's something you have to try, and you don't know how you're going to react or how you're going to feel until you do it. So it's like, for me, it was 3 stages. The actual act, and me watching him on top of her and looking at his face and looking at her face, and my husband was really good about it, and he would look at me and he would hold my hand
Oh.
when he was with her.
What did you think?
And that meant everything.
Oh.
That during the act, he never disconnected with me. The second stage is when it's done. The first time it was a little weird,
Awkward.
because it's like, well, what do you do? What do we do now?
Right.
Do we put our clothes on? Do I kick you out of the house?
Yeah.
You want to watch TV? It was like, well, what do I do? I got better.
Sure.
The more.
Sure.
I would have something in the crock pot cooking. So we would, when we were done, I would play, okay, let's eat. And we'd go in the kitchen and we'd be all naked in the kitchen eating something from the crock pot.
All right.
And it was the end of a great night, and most of the time I would say there's a bed upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to crash, feel welcome. If you didn't bring anything, I've got clothes.
They don't sleep in your bed with you?
No. Well, and I'm sure they want their own space.
Yes.
And then the third stage is the next day.
Right. Now, before you guys did this, did you establish rules for each other?
We did. We had a lot of rules.
What were some of your rules?
We all had to do it together, was probably my biggest rule. I didn't want him grabbing her and going to a different room. This was something that we're coming in together to do.
Okay.
I wanted to be able to control it and stop it.
Did you have a safe word?
We did have a safe word.
Okay.
I think those were the only rules, going into
He
our
had
little
he had
threesome.
full carte blanche to have penetrative sex with her,
Yes.
to go down on her.
Yes.
You had the same permission to do anything.
Yes.
Was there anything that you reserved for yourself? I know people in the lifestyle. Some people say it's like you can do this, but you can't have an orgasm.
Or no kissing.
No kissing. Yeah. Did you have any of those things?
We didn't have any of those type of things. I felt that it was just sex.
Yeah.
There was nothing love about it. There was nothing committed about it. It was just fun sex. And what is fun sex? Fun is kissing. I get really turned on when I make out with somebody. If you're a horrible kisser, I got nothing for you.
Yeah.
So I can't say no kissing, because then how do I know anything about you?
But people have their rules.
They have their rules.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And so one of my rules that I had, it didn't have to do with the sex play. It had to do with afterwards.
Okay.
Nobody sleeps in our bed,
Okay.
because that's our bed.
Yeah. A lot of people have threesomes in hotels for that very reason.
Right.
That if something goes wrong, because I believe that rooms can absorb energy. Mm-hmm. And if something bad happens in your bedroom,
Carries over.
forever. I mean, you could probably put some sage in the corner. I have a shaman who knows how to clear rooms. But for the most part, that negative energy and that weirdness stays in the room. And the memories. So you're smart not to hook up with strange women in your own bedroom.
Right.
Everybody loves hotel sex anyway.
Yeah, well, it's different. It's risque.
Right? Now, what I find most interesting about this is before any of this happens, you are not a bisexual person.
That's correct.
And
not a bisexual. Never kissed a girl. Never went down on a girl. I just thought they were really pretty.
This night, you're basically going balls deep.
Yes.
Did you go down on her?
No, I didn't.
Why?
I don't know. Because I didn't know how to do it.
Well, how did you learn?
I did it. I got the nerve or the courage to do, and it was with somebody I knew for a while.
Right, so they can say, "Hey, try."
It wasn't a stranger or someone just I picked up. They were friends that we hung out with for a while that were also curious.
So I think women frequently decide in advance when they want to have sex, and it's basically up to their husband or partner to come home, not say something stupid. How does your husband not say something stupid? Because I feel as if this is a house of cards.
It is.
And one false move can blow up the entire night.
And it could, and it has before.
How so?
So we've been kind of in that same situation at the beginning, and it was more at the bar. We would be talking, and he would try to interject himself and say something, and you could see her face turn. She was talking about some sex act she did, and he had made a comment that wasn't sexy.
Yeah.
And my eyes rolled and her eyes rolled and we had
Lady
lost
boner
her.
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had lost her. And
So learning moment. So now at least you know not to do that. You must have told him, dude, shut up. Be handsome and mysterious.
Yes, and I kind of say, let me work this deal, and then I will bring her to you.
But you did not go into it that way. You went into it saying, I don't know how to pick up women.
I don't. Yes, I did. But I figured it out.
So quickly you're telling him now, okay.
Now let me run the show because I have all this newfound, knowledge and experience because I've been to a bar 3 times. And I know how to do this now. And with a lot of learning curves.
Sure.
A lot of learning curves.
Lots of curves. This was incredibly enlightening. And I really want to have you back to talk about more. Would you be interested in that?
Oh, I would love to come back.
So great. The Sexually Adventurous Woman, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We have a couple more episodes with her coming up, and I think you're really going to like them.
It's not always great when you fornicate. Screw confession.
Back when I was in college, I went on vacation with my parents to the Dominican Republic. And at the time, I had been dating somebody, but we'd been having some issues. So while I was away, I wound up getting drunk with my sister at a bar, and I picked up a guy, and we ended up going to a hotel room to have sex. But what I forgot was that I had a tampon in. So I forgot to take out the tampon while we had sex. And it was in this really gross bathroom in this hotel in Dominican Republic. I'd gotten the wrong side of the coin, and my sister got the bedroom, and I wound up in the bathroom. So I get back from my little vacation with my parents, and I get back to college, and I realize that I had forgotten to take out the tampon, and I couldn't reach it to get it out. Like, it was really stuck in there. Because my fingers, I'm really tiny, I'm 4'11", were not cutting it. My hand was just way too small, and I could not get up in there. So I went back to the current boyfriend, and obviously not telling him what had happened, I convinced him to get his fingers up in there to take the tampon out for me. It took him a little time, but he managed to reach in and pull out the tampon. It was quite a relief, and he was none the wiser how the tampon got all up in there. And that's my story.
True confessions.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Sex Ed the Musical, produced by Mindy Miller, edited and produced by Carl T. Wright, creative consultant Jackie Morgan McDougall, and I'm your host, Wendy Miller. As always,
If you like the show, please comment below.
and please send in your screw confessions. We're getting great stories that we want to put on the show. If you've got a great screw confession, email me at info@sexedthemusical.com.
Sex ed, what's happening in your bed? Yeah, sex ed, the musical.